right, you guys. So welcome back to the show. I have a good guest actually today that I haven't seen in 10 years. It's actually a mountaineering guide that I hired a long time ago. And Facebook just reminded me that it's already been like 10 years since myself, Kai Girard, and we practiced his name here for a little bit. So I got it correct. Happy about that. And Megan Valentine climbed Mount Fury way back when in the North Cascades. And Kai, I just wanted to kind of get you on the show because you have like an alternative lifestyle. You're a mountaineering guy, and I'll kind of let you take over in a second. And as you know, like one of the challenges of staying healthy is oftentimes, especially kind of with white collar work, when you're sitting all day or just like very sedentary, it makes it like very difficult. It adds one more challenge to going on an honest health journey. And I can edit that out. Don't worry about it. And oftentimes, just like a lot of people don't know, but when you're, sitting for 8 to 10 hours a day, oftentimes like 5 to 6 days a week, there's no amount of like yoga or exercise you could do to offset the damage you do to your body
Sure.
from sitting those long periods of time. And obviously, the human body has spent a long time evolving, like millions of years, and there have been 28 human species that have come and gone. And it's evolved to have like low intensity dynamic movement all day.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of sitting a lot all day, not only are you not getting that, but you're also kind of tired at the end of the day, because a lot of people also don't know. But if you're sitting for long periods of time, especially doing repetitive work like computer programming or something of that sort, a lot of people think your base metabolic rate is the lowest amount of calories you burn at rest. But really, when you go into that hypnotic state, like when you almost like phase out, like on long drives you've done so many times, you could almost do it unconsciously. And you wake up when you get home and you're like, whoa, how did I get here? So when you get into those kind of states, your visceral tissue actually consume even less energy via calories. And actually, you burn even less than your base metabolic rate, thus making weight gain a lot more likely. And then you also have like the passive tissue creep, which causes all sorts of postural issues, which increases the chances of your injuries and stuff of that sort. So I'll let you take over just how your life is doing and how mountaineering has been in your life and stuff of that sort.
Um, you're talking about how difficult it is to stay fit when you're not super active. Reminds me of a college buddy of mine who is a D1 gymnast. And he spent 10 years at the top level of gymnastics, competing, beating himself up, tons of injuries, did very well. And then he got a job after college, stopped competing, and went to work for software, oil and gas, did an office job for 10 years. And his back, when he went to the doctors, like the doctor said, you've done the two worst things that you could possibly do for your back. Tons of compressive, repetitive injuries, and then just sitting in a chair for 8 or 10 hours a day or whatever it was that he was doing. So the two things that come to mind about, why I like my job, my lifestyle, and then I suppose the value in it relative to health is that it's regular, it's consistent, and it also gives these great objectives to look for, dream about, train for, ambitious desire, gives you motivation, that kind of thing. Same thing for like Mount Fury, like you were inspired by, if I remember, an image of it that you saw somewhere and decided to make that trip happen. And through, with friends and obviously hiring somebody who you didn't happen to know yet, making something like that happen is, outside of your wheelhouse, but you can make those objectives happen. But you guys brought your health, fitness, base abilities, which allowed us to make it happen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
People show up and they're all the time. Like the joke in mountain guiding is that we can tell if somebody's going to climb the mountain when we watch them walk across the parking lot. Like you can tell how people move, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't necessarily tell their endurance, but endurance is mostly a head game anyway. And then base fitness goes a long way. But if you can do the same repetitive, that makes it sound boring. If you can do the same moderate movement regularly,
Hi. Boring rephrased means consistent, in a
right?
positive
And I'm trying to
reframe.
sell that, right? Because doing it regularly is that consistency is what gets you, the fitness that you've gotten. It's funny because at least so I live in Jackson, Wyoming. I guide the Grand Teton regularly. I'm climbing very regularly. Obviously, it's an outdoor community, so we backcountry ski guide in the winter. Um, Very active environment, and as I like to think, if I can be average in this community, I'll be psyched because the talent pool and ability level in this community is stacked, and people get out all the time, and they're incredibly capable, and this is a good place for it. But depending on what you're into, what you'd like to do, if anybody's interested in maintaining their fitness, I suppose it doesn't matter what you're doing. I suppose if you're just doing it regularly and it doesn't seem like work to you.
Yeah.
People don't like doing work after work, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you've already like worked like 10 hours a day, and you log out and you try to go get a workout in at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. And then
Absolutely.
especially if you kind of throw kids into the mix, that even adds like another time obstacle as well. So
For sure.
oftentimes a lot of people aren't blessed with like I know these occupations have challenges themselves, but blessed with having like being a construction worker, which has low intensity dynamic movement all day as part of
Absolutely.
your work. So you basically get the workout in, or how your body has ideally evolved. I mean, ideally, the body hasn't even evolved to train in the gym for 2 to 3 hours a day with linear
Sure.
movements with like a barbell grip, which isn't like natural at all. It's
Yeah.
evolved to have that low intensity dynamic movement. And yeah, not many people have that, but it's like when you do have that, it makes it effortless. And then oftentimes also I find when you have that volume of work, I've done a little bit of construction here and there just on some house projects. It's like, dude, you sleep so well because you're like so tired at the end of the day. You don't even
Yeah.
have any time to think about anything because you just go to sleep and you go do it again. And then you go to
Yeah.
sleep and you go do it again. But how did you get into mountaineering out of the myriad of things you could have gotten into?
I like to think that there's two ways into guiding, and one is the athlete side, somebody who is particularly talented, whether they compete or otherwise. They're so into it and they get really good and they get recognized and they have the movement skills and they become a guide because it's one way to continue in the industry. And I think that's true for lots of different industries. But there's the athlete side going into being a guide, and then there's more the educator side. So people who are good with people, who spend a lot of time facilitating experiences, people who maybe more have a recognition that risk management is the base of the job, not just getting to the top. So the stereotype of a guide on the end that's not the best, which is the dragon brag. Like you just grab the person that you've never met before and you get them to the top and you get them down. And there's no ownership on the participants' part. There's not necessarily a lot of communication. There's not much opportunity to make a connection, whether it's with the environment, the experience, or the guide. And so, I try and avoid the dragon brag, right? So having come from more the educator side, I worked for Outward Bound, I worked for Knowles. I grew up in I wouldn't say like an outdoorsy family, but I grew up in an outdoorsy environment. Grew up in Northern California, had some great teachers in high school that shared their outdoor experiences and their like appreciation of that environment, which was outside of their academic experience. And it wasn't like they were trying to tell us that it was any good. It's just like something that they were into. And they're like, if you want to come do this, you can come do this. And I got into it. So during high school, I definitely got a little bit of climbing, mountaineering, camping, rafting, just a little bit of all that stuff. By the time I made it to college, school was, I mean, I was going to school, right? That's good. Stay in school. But like I went to Seattle for school because it was a great outdoors town and working in the Cascades. And I got into rafting. I got, just started rock climbing and mountaineering on my own. And there was that moment where I got offered a job doing something that I was doing for free. And that seemed like a pretty good idea. And then I haven't stopped. Like I've done a few other jobs over the years, and they're piecemeal opportunities to either make a buck or help somebody out, or honestly to keep learning, right? Learning skills and experiences outside of my day to day. But I've just gone back to being outside. I like being outside. I like the accountability of it. Like nature doesn't care, and it's not out to get you, but it also doesn't care. And you can have the skills and ability to take care of yourself and the people around you, but you got to be engaged. Otherwise, nature will do whatever it's going to do. So in our case, a lot of experience goes into helping people have an experience that they wouldn't do on their own. That's from the guiding side. As it is, Jackson's a weird little mountain town that I happen to live in. And as I like to say, I'll stay here as long as I can get away with it. It's a bubble, but it's steeped in the outdoors. And I actually think you've been here maybe a couple years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, like very beautiful town. It's actually a town from one of my favorite games, The Last of Us 2. I don't know if you
Okay.
got into that. I don't even know if you
Oh, I
gamed at
didn't.
all,
I
but
didn't know that.
yeah, but they started the game in
Oh,
Jacksonville. But that
cool.
was already like post zombie apocalypse, so it's like a different Jacksonville than you're
Oh, yeah,
experiencing
yeah.
currently, slightly.
I'm pretty sure in the apocalypse we're not going to make it.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm sure there's not much to see, even if you make it. Not much to
Yeah.
look forward to. So, yeah, like very beautiful town. Just out of interest, when I was there, I kind of like opened Zillow. I'm like, oh, some of these houses are really beautiful. I wonder how much it can't be that much. And then
Can't
I
be that.
open it and I'm like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah, it's
Housing
silly.
here is like super expensive, man. Although it's kind of like almost out. It's been many years already at this point, but it seemed like kind of out there. Not much industry was out there either. But
There's
it's
very
been, I
little.
think,
I
like
would say house
2019.
building seems like it's doing okay. There's
Yeah.
a lot of agriculture. There's a lot of I'm going to just call it brain trust work. Like lots of people that work remote here. A lot of people have. I mean, Wyoming's a tax haven state,
Hmm.
something like that. Like there's a real benefit for folks with money to have a house here, and I don't have a problem with that. Like that's one of the best things is like the scene here is nothing about showing off. It's people. There are advantages. There are disadvantages. Every person who comes here is because it is beautiful. There's 2 national parks. It's very engaging. It's a cute little western mountain town. I mean, I think our reputation is that folks are pretty nice generally across the board, and it's very accessible. We got a small little airport, and it's a long drive from anywhere else, but we're the same distance from everywhere else, and it has a reputation for being genuine.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I hope that's true. I suppose.
No, it's a beautiful place. Even the airport, like you said, it's like super small. Like at first when I landed, I'm like, oh shit, I hope I picked the right airport, because
Yeah.
knowing me, I probably could have actually picked the wrong airport. Um, but do you have like a fitness routine on the side that you do, or you mainly just rely on putting in miles and actually mountaineering?
One of the reasons that I really like being a mountain guide is the seasonal progression of it. As I like to say, I'm never really done with the season when it passes, but I'm always looking forward to the next one. And at least for mountain guides, whether you're staying in one spot, this happens to be a destination where you can be a mountain guide or minimum spend a bunch of time in the outdoors regularly all year long. And so in the summer, mountain guide, in the fall, international trips or time off. Obviously, our winter is huge, 5 or 6 months of skiing. And that's become a huge part of my workload, I suppose. And then in the spring is often travel season as well. And I won't say most, a lot of mountain guides end up in Alaska. The Alaska mountaineering skiing scene extends the winter by going up north. In terms of having an additional workload of exercise past it, I probably struggle more with diet than I do with exercise. Being active around here is not a problem. You know, I still like doing what I'm doing for work. And so it's whether you're mountain biking or rafting or going for a run or taking the dog out for a walk or going to climb a mountain, or going heli skiing in Alaska or going via ferrata in the Italian Alps or going skiing in Antarctica. Like these trips are super cool, and I like doing all that. I find myself through these waves of activity. I like as long as I'm working, I eat what I've got with me, and then when I'm at home, I eat what's available, and that happens to be like the whole fridge. So
Okay, got it.
during the times that I'm not working as much, I got to pay a lot more attention. Obviously, it's a little bit more forgiving when you're 5 days a week, hours outside, and your metabolism is maintaining whatever's going on outside as well as the activity, and you only have what you manage to pack in your pack.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about dietary or fitness choices with people that are in different kind of health fields or healthier lifestyles. It's
Sure.
like physique athletes, they got like everything measured out for the whole year, seasonally, like down to the gram. Like a lot of other people, they just kind of tend to do like, oh, I don't measure anything, but like I do like paleo or I just eat organic or whatever. And then we got Kai here, just kind of wings it most of the year, but it's okay. It
Oh, super
works, you
winging
know?
it. We have guides up there who are vegetarian, who are vegan. There are guides who are, full carnivores. There are guides that care. Uh, Bag salads are super popular this year because they're easy to carry, and then you're eating, well, I guess plant-based, but you're eating fresh versus like the frozen burrito. It's relatively simple food that people are bringing up on mountains. But because our trips in the Grand Tetons are relatively short, most guides choose real food. So there's, like we were sponsored by a company that makes energy bars a couple years ago, and the ski organization I work for still is. We have bars and boxes out in the garage that are never going to see the light of day because I've eaten more of those things than I can handle. And there's a time and a place for them. They're a great resource. They're better and better every year. At the same time as in terms of volume, they're still a heavily processed piece of food that you're stuffing into your face. And that's usually because you don't have enough time to do anything else. So certainly my favorite of the last couple of years has been, you know, I want to say like rice and beans or vegetables on whatever base and going leftovers up on the hill. And I'll carry a little bit of extra weight to do that. Whereas on the other end, like my wife is training for a long trail run and she's got to go ultra lightweight. So she's got a little bit of the hydration drinks and the goos and, whatever real food that they can handle metabolizing when they're still exercising for however many hours it's going to take her.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. I'm curious, have you ever been confused by the labels in the grocery store? In Yevgeny's book, he demystifies the difference between caged, cage-free, free-range, and pasture-raised meats. He also covers how to avoid GMOs, source high-quality water, fish, supplements, and other related topics. It's a beautifully illustrated, non-technical read that comes with a comprehensive video series and other extended learning materials. Jump on Amazon and check out the book titled Anti-Factory Farm Shopping Guide by Eugene Trufkin. Now let's dive back into the podcast.
Yeah, I find I'm kind of seeing like one other advantage of your job is kind of like for the most part, like 99% of at least the Homo sapiens existence, they're kind of like hunter gatherers, being exposed to a lot of novelty in life, where these days it's kind of easy, especially in kind of like more cities, just to kind of get into your routine, especially if you're working a lot of hours, you're kind of tend to be a little bit tired on the weekends anyways, and you only have maybe enough time to run a few errands and then kind of repeat the week all over again. And also another thing to consider is like for most of human history, they're just like generalist. They didn't even really specialize in anything, Everyone was just kind of a generalist and there's no specialty. And I think just having a lot more of that novelty in your life and not being just one thing like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week is actually good for your mental health as well. And doesn't make you like too head heavy. And then in terms of like physical work, it allows the distribution of tension in your body to be distributed more evenly because you don't have so much repetition. So thus your chances of injury are a lot lower. Like factory workers are very repetitive and they get injured quite often. Same with like farm workers as well. But it sounds like you're doing quite a bit of things in terms of rafting, mountaineering, also like things in different climates and different type of soil, et cetera, which kind of distribute the load differently in your body. Well, if I guess like one thing I would like to ask probably that would be helpful is how could a person that's looking for a mountaineering guide know that they're hiring someone that's competent? What are some like checklists they can look for?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are lots of great guides in the United States. There's lots of organizations that have in-house training. There's lots of people that go out and build a lot of personal experience, but none of that necessarily requires them to be a good guide, right? They might know the hard skills and they might have done some things. The two things that come to mind are, of course, going into terrain that is consequential is important to build a relationship with whoever you're climbing with. And you're putting a huge amount of trust in that person. Within the United States, we're represented by the American Mountain Guide Association. The International Federation of Mountain Guide Associations, the IFMGA, recognizes the AMGA as one of, I think, 27 countries that have training up to an international standard. So I'm an IFMGA guide. I'm an internationally certified guide, and I can work anywhere across the world. That's because I'm certified in the 3 disciplines that the AMGA recognizes, leading towards being internationally certified. So rock climbing, alpine climbing, and skiing. There are certified guides in individual disciplines. So you can be a certified rock guide, certified alpine guide, certified ski guide. And once again, just because you're certified does not make you a good guide, but it does recognize that you've reached a standard, and in a lot of ways, an international standard of terrain management, risk management, and movement skills. So that's a good start. AMGA training, whether it's an AMGA certified organization or whether it's an AMGA trained guide, you can take the first course. Let's just say it's the Alpine Skills course, the Rock Guide course, and you're on the track. You're on the AMGA track. Obviously, there's a super vague or a very wide variation of how far through the training you've been. And it doesn't matter if you're going rock climbing with a certified ski guide. That's not their skill set. Depending on where you are, there's better, more difficult access to the outdoors. Most of what mountain guides do, this comes from rock climbing and to a lesser degree mountaineering. Most of what we do has to do with ropes. And so there's lots of climbing that you can do without a rope, but there are not so many guides that work in those environments. We certainly spend lots and lots of time off a rope, approaching, descending, training. But when it comes to the objectives that most folks are trying to ascend with a guide and obviously get down as well, that's where ropes come in, and that's what we're good at managing.
Got it. Okay. Well, how does your lifestyle work with like a family now?
I mean, it's more difficult in the sense that, like, I got a 1-year-old. She's the cutest, but she's in daycare, which we're fortunate to have to be able to afford, and it's got a limited number of hours. Um, when my wife is not around, like she was traveling earlier this month, and I didn't work my overnight trips, and I had limited access to what I could do during the day if I had to drop her off and pick her up. Um, Admittedly, working a seasonal job for a really long time has sort of trained me to work boom and bust style seasons. So I'll work a bunch and then I have a bunch of time off. Um, in terms of how it makes it sustainable, all I gotta say is that single parents blow my mind, and I don't have a good answer. Like, I happen to be married, happen to be my twin sister. Sorry, my older sister lives locally, um, and everyone's super helpful. Right, a village goes a long way. Um, I suppose also I would simply say that the outdoors have been an incredible influence to me. Uh, Lesser with my family, like growing up, because that wasn't their thing, but it's something that I hope to, share with my daughter. So when the opportunity arises, we're outside, and as she grows up, hopefully we'll be going hiking, we'll be going climbing, we'll be getting to the top of the Grand Teton, going rafting. Um, the more time you can spend with your kid, and it seemed just better all around, and active physical movement outdoors. And it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to rock climb. You don't have to get to the top of the mountain. The value of the outdoors is not in the difficulty of it. It is simply, in my mind, it's from the value of the experience, right? You're I don't know if anybody's spent a bunch of time at the house and went outside and felt like a better human, but most people have gone outside even for a little bit, and it's been easier or hard, and they remember the value of it, and they think back on that, in the future experiences as well. So I don't think any time outside is wasted.
Yeah. Why did you end up, I'm just curious, why did you end up moving from Seattle to Jackson?
uh, I like this story. Basically, my wife got offered a job that came with housing, and I like to describe myself as a very supportive husband. So we were trying to move away from the Northwest, not away from the Northwest. We were trying to move out of the little town that we were living in, and she got a job offer here, and we'd spent enough time here to know that it was a place that we could do what we both liked to do at the level that we liked to do it. So She's been super successful in the community, doing what her work is. And then, I had been working in Alaska for a number of years and knew a bunch of guides that worked here in the Tetons. And so, got to talk to them. I knew I'd be able to get work here. And it truthfully is, as I like to say, it's summer camp for mountain guides because it's a phenomenal playground. It's world-class terrain in the summer and the winter. It's really good work. Obviously, it's a tourist destination, so there's enough work to keep us busy. And then the natural cycles of the seasons means that it's not, we don't work all year. It creates these natural cycles. And we have an airport too. So we're not in the middle of a big city. This is like one of the better communities that does not have a major metropolitan area close to it. Like the Cascades have Seattle, the Wasatch has Salt Lake City, the Rockies have Denver. We're in the Northern Rockies. We're close to Yellowstone. We have a tiny airport and honestly a small range. The Wind River Range is quite big, but the Teton Range is quite small. But it's high quality. Aesthetically, its accessibility is incredible. And for as pointy as this thing is, it's amazingly accessible.
How's the mountaineering industry different between when you're in Washington versus Wyoming?
The size of the range matters. We have a little bit of elevation. They have Rainier. We have the Grand Teton. They have glaciers, and we technically do, but we don't really travel on them. We can do most of our climbing in a day, and then we have some incredible traverses. And climbing the Grand Teton happens to most commonly be an overnight, and so you can get full immersion in the backcountry without spending a week doing it. In the North Cascades, as you know, the approach is usually a huge part of the experience. I mean, we took a boat and then we hiked 5 or 8 miles and then we camped and then we woke up the next day and then we crossed the river and I didn't know where the trail was and we bushwhacked through the Devil's Club. We found the trail on the way down though. So
I even forgot that we took a boat. I'm like, we took a boat. You just reminded me. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So the approach was quite difficult. And difficult's not the right way. It's a lot of work. And the Cascades, it takes several thousand feet to get above tree line. And then there's big terrain. So I guess what I'm getting at is its scale. There's not as much day trips relative to like, you can do a ton in a week. 3 to 5 days in the North Cascades is a great amount of time. 3 to 5 days here in the North, in the Tetons, you can like practically cross the range. So a lot shorter trips, and lending myself towards, the family question, it creates balance. We do a ton of really great work, and then I go home at night, and I get to hang out with my family.
Yeah.
So that part's great, and less driving. There's a lot of driving in the Seattle area.
Have you ever thought of like doing kind of like a semi-off-grid or off-grid move for yourself?
Not professionally. I mean, we're not off the grid. We're not off the grid. We are at the end of a black hole. Like we are a resource black hole. You're talking about infrastructure and industry and agriculture. And like, obviously we have so many resources that come into the Jackson Valley and we use them. And that's great. But once again, if the apocalypse happens, we're not going to make it because we don't grow things. We are a consuming community. So we're not off the grid, but it's a bubble. It's like we're out of the loop, if you will. We have the internet, we have like all the visitors, like we know what's going on outside in the rest of the world, but we can forget about it pretty easy around here.
Yeah, I don't think you're missing out much anyways by not paying too much attention to the circus.
I climbed with a woman who was from DC recently, and we were talking about how everybody knows what's going on in politics because that's the name of the game in DC. Like that's the only thing that matters. And here in this environment, like the rivers are low and the fish are suffering because it's a little bit warm, and a lot of the creeks up high are starting to get down. So we're having a little bit more work to get water. We're having our regular late season monsoonal weather systems pass through, which is putting lightning and hail up on the upper mountains, which is of course affecting our movement in the mountains. Like my point is we've got our thumbs on the pulse of the environment, but we don't necessarily know what's going on in DC.
Yeah.
You can find out if you're interested, but people are here. It's pretty out.
Have you ever thought of like moving to Alaska at all?
I mean, certainly. I've spent over a decade working in Alaska, primarily on Denali and more recently heli ski guiding and mountaineering. And Alaska is a phenomenal landscape. It's huge. It is also never been hugely interesting to me to live there, I suppose. I think one of the reasons is because they have their massive day and night changes in terms of light. And so you can be outdoors all of the time in the summer. And then in the winter, obviously, their days are very, very short. And any place you are, whether it's Alaska or in Texas or Ecuador, or like wherever you happen to be, you match the cycle of the natural environment. And so Alaska is a phenomenal landscape for folks being outdoors. Um, I've never really wanted to live in Alaska, though. Part of it has to do with, I suppose, I feel like I'm drawn towards desert environments, whether that's like the American West desert or the Alpine desert. And Alaska certainly has Alpine, but that's really hard to get to. And it doesn't have much when it comes to like sandy deserts. And so I've definitely found myself, I mean, I grew up in California. I've lived and worked across the Western United States. And whether it's familiarity or my personal interest, I feel more drawn to places that are high and dry.
Yeah, got it. Do you by any chance get any like regular blood work done?
Never.
No? Okay.
No idea.
It's okay.
Like, I'm pretty sure I'm B positive. Like, I think I know what my blood is, but that's about it.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Shows the contrast difference of like people in like physique or like holistic health. They're always like getting their blood work done every 6 months and everything. But
Sure.
who knows what those numbers mean at the end of the day? Constantly changing all the time, anyways. Okay, cool. But yeah, Kai, it was great to see you again. Are there any other topics you'd love to touch on?
I mean, none come to mind, right? You invited me on here to chat a little bit about what I do in the lifestyle, and I'm psyched to hear a little bit about what you're on. Like, your little introduction was incredible. The scope of your understanding and experience in like the human body and like thinking about our evolution and how it built us, or we were along for the ride, or whatever you want to call it. Like, we're the tip of the spear, right? We're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, and we happen to be doing what we're doing wherever we happen to be. And I'm psyched to see you again. And
Yeah.
I'm glad to see you healthy. I'm glad to see you busy. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. And then Kai, if someone wants to book a tour with you, do you have like, I think you had a website. We talked about this like 10 years ago. I was wondering if that website has evolved yet.
You know, it's funny you ask. I happen to be, as a good mountain guide, I'm bad at business. So jacksonbackcountry.com is a website that is mine, and I sell ultralight backcountry rescue sleds, and I'm the only guy. So I don't have a website for my guiding, but it is a platform that connects me.
Okay. Well, I'll make it easy. I'll kind of include your Facebook link. And I think you're also on Instagram. I'll find your account there. So if anyone wants to reach out, they can kind of at least reach you there. So
appreciate it.
Yeah, I think websites are obsolete at this point anyways. It's all about like the social media page either way.
Feel good.
So maybe you're ahead of your time back then.
I'm ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you're already seeing things. Okay. Well, yeah, it's great to see you again. Megan is doing well as well. She decided to like move. She actually moved off grid. She bought some land.
I saw a little bit of that. Yeah. Obviously, not everything. If you talk to her, send her my best.
Yeah, I will.
Right on.
Okay.
It's great to see you, man.
Okay, Kai. Have a good weekend, man.
Thanks a lot. You too.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you've ever had trouble losing weight, or you've lost weight, but still didn't have the ideal body or health you're aiming for, please feel free to reach out anytime and book an assessment. Eugene will work with you to cover your goals in detail, see what's holding you back, and go from there. In the meantime, feel free to check out the countless testimonials on Eugene's website in the link below. In the testimonial section, you'll notice everyone has various backgrounds, are of all different ages, and all have had different challenges in their life, but they all have one thing in common: they were all able to find their health and achieve their ideal body. You're also welcome to add yourself to the Facebook group in the link below. There you'll have access to the live videos that Eugene does weekly on Sundays, and other helpful content. Thank you again for tuning in.